brothers and sisters who wear the badge, I want you to know that I am deeply grateful for the difficult and dangerous work that you do every day to keep our streets safe and our nation secure. And to those who seek to improve our country through peaceful protest and protected speech, I want you to know that your voice is important. Do not be discouraged by those who would use your lawful actions as a cover for their heinous violence. We will continue to safeguard your constitutional rights and to work with you.
You know, to me, that message to the protesters by the Attorney General of the United States is reminiscent of the prosecutor in Maryland, in Baltimore, in the Freddie Gray case. You know, I hear you. We're doing this for you. I mean, there's just something wrong about it when you have 5 dead police officers. There's just something wrong about it, equating the two, to the police and to the protesters. It's just inappropriate. But hey, inappropriate, that's the definition of the Obama administration. Joining us now, Brad Taylor, served for more than 20 years in the U.S. Army Delta Force, retiring as a Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel, and also an expert on counterterrorism. He's a Texan, and he's the author of a great new book. It's number 10 in the Pike Logan thriller series, and it's called The Insider Threat. And I'm sorry, it's called Ghosts of War. Okay, it says Insider Threat, but I have here, they got the wrong book up. Come to me. Forget that book. I mean, buy it if you don't have it, but this is the book. This is the book, Ghosts of War. Sorry about that. That's fine. Great to see you. Live TV, thanks. Anything could happen. All right, but before we get to the book, and we certainly will, you know, you're sitting home like everybody else. Last night you hear about this. It's your home state. What's going through your mind as a military background and everything else?
Well, the first thing that went through my mind was the discrimination on the shots. There was no doubt in my mind the guy could fire a rifle. People look at the movies and they think you can pick up a gun and just start shooting. By the fact that there was 10-to-1 protesters to cops, he hit 12 cops and only 2 protesters. The first thing I thought was that guy's a shooter. Yeah. And I wasn't surprised to see he was in the Army Reserves. Now, there's a lot of talk about, you know, he's trained sniper. I'm like, well, you don't have to be that good of a shooter. Yeah. But you do have to have a weapon zeroed for you. You can't just go buy a gun and shoot it. And you have to know how to shoot it. I knew that was what happened.
And in his home, the police found like an arsenal and a bomb-making factory and all that. Where
this is terrorism. Yeah. They should just call it what it is. It is terrorism.
Yeah. Well, the mayor refused to rule it out. And, of course, we don't know yet for sure if it's just that one person or some of the others they have in custody and whatnot. When you hear, and I don't know if you heard the President of the United States before the shooting, he called a press conference at 1 a.m. in Poland to react to the 2 police shooting videos that were out and talked about how blacks are treated unfairly and they gave statistics which are meaningless without context, how often they're stopped and blah, blah, blah. And you heard, you know, others, Hillary Clinton, basically convicting those police officers in the video as well. Does that contribute, in your view, to a climate that I'm not saying that A is B, but a climate that leads to these kinds of things or makes the atmosphere conducive to these kinds of shootings?
It does. There's a corrosive effect over. I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I don't think Obama's saying, I want to get this.
I'll differ with you on that. I don't say he wants cops shot, but I think he likes stirring the pot.
And it's definitely a corrosive effect. And what accelerates that, which I've seen recently in the last 5 years, is social media. Something comes out on social media, video, cell phone video. That immediately becomes a de facto truth of the matter.
Right.
This is what happened.
Right.
Without talking to anybody, without seeing anything, the whole hands up, don't shoot stuff.
It was made up.
Once you start tweeting that things out, people see it, believe it, and now it's the truth.
Yeah, and even Eric Garner here in New York, which the video looked pretty indicting, once the jury saw many videos and heard from many experts and learned about what police are entitled to do, they were found not guilty.
Right.
I mean, you know, that's where the rush to judgment is terrible. What do police need? Because we hear so much, another cry from the left is, you know, well, we've militarized the police, and then we see something like this yesterday. Seems to me police need more heavy gear, heavy armor, rather than less.
I actually was wondering, I looked for it and tried to see it, if those guys were up armored, if they had level 3
the
plates.
shooter did. The shooter had all kinds of armor.
Right.
They shot at him point blank, it bounced off, and he killed that cop.
Right. Most police officers wear ballistic vests, but they aren't level 3. If he's shooting, which I guarantee he was shooting 5.56 because that's what he trained on in the military. He's not going to go buy something different.
Right.
And you have to have level 3 plates to protect against that. Something we have in combat.
I want to take calls, ladies and gentlemen. 877-NEWSMAX, 877-639-7629. The book Ghosts of War. For those who are familiar with you over the last 20 years or so, or 10? How many years has it been since you've been writing them?
Actually,
10
it's
years?
only been 5.
5 years. Okay. 20 years in the military, 5 years writing. This is 10th in the series, though. So what can we look for in this book? It's terrorism, right?
Actually, it's not. It's the mighty 10th book. I wanted to move away from Islamic terrorism and its fault lines of the old Cold War. Putin rattling his sabers. Hybrid warfare is a big deal in the Department of Defense right now. His ability to leverage all elements of power, information, energy, everything, without overtly rolling tanks through. And that's how he got Crimea. He did it in Georgia.
Right.
And it's kind of along those fault lines of how we're going to deal with it.
There was a report yesterday that Iran, in one of their secret books or manuals that we got a hold of somehow, is plotting to launch an EMP attack on our electric grid. And we know this. And if it lasts for any significant length of time and it's successful, 9 out of every 10 Americans will be dead in like 2 years. I mean, and we just, our government sits here and like, ha, ha, ha. I don't get it.
For Iran, they'd have to actually get a ballistic missile that could reach over the top of the continental United States in the stratosphere and detonate a nuclear weapon.
Well, a small one. I mean, it would be a small one.
Yeah.
No, anyway, crazy. Let's get to the phones with Brad Taylor, ladies and gentlemen, author of Ghosts of War. And let's go to Rick from Philadelphia. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Mr. Taylor. First of all, thank you for your service in the military.
Absolutely.
Just call to first of all say that my prayers and thoughts go out to the families of 5 fallen officers. I myself, I'm a disabled police officer. Just want to say I am so disgusted with people like Lynch and Obama, people in these high political offices that do not support law enforcement anymore. I'm tired of seeing these people dancing in the streets, making fun out of fallen officers. How many of those people out there did they go out and obtain a legal permit to conduct a protest? That's question number one.
Well, I believe it was because the cop. Well, I believe they did because the cops escorted them. It was pre-planned. And what my concern is, and let me put this to Brad, why in this day and age would the route be given out? I could see you say, okay, assemble here and we'll lead you. Don't put the route out in advance and then everybody has it on social media, and apparently this guy obviously had the route.
Right. Well, I think you'd have to have, you're going to get caught between a rock and a hard place because Dallas is a metroplex.
Yeah.
And a protest is no different than a parade as far as interrupting the daily life of the people in the city.
Right.
So you couldn't have a protest and say, we're not going to tell anybody where you're going, and then all of a sudden, hey, I'm late for an appointment. What is this?
Gotcha.
You've got to get people to plan their life around what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right, good point. Rick, I thank you very much, sir, and God bless you, and thank you for your service as well. George from Batavia, Illinois. Hello, George.
How you doing, Steve?
Good. What can we do for you, Brad and I?
I want to say, Brad, thank you for your service. It was very sad with what happened last night, just extremely sad, and I really don't understand why the Black Lives Matter is not a terrorist group. They can do what they want. They can do damage, protest where they're doing terrible things, and it just turns into a race issue. It's how the cops are treating the blacks. Everything is just spun so backwards.
Well, George,
I just don't understand.
You heard Jonathan Gilliam at the top of the show said they should not be allowed to protest and they should be declared a terrorist group. I think, and I love John. I don't know, Brad, that there's enough there to declare them a terrorist group.
I would say that it's actually Sinn Féin and the IRA kind of thing. You've got a peaceful organizations going out. There's a fringe element that's with that organization.
Yes.
It really, I guess, a better example or
pigs in a blanket, fry and whatever they chant.
And it reminds me of the Palestinians stabbing Israelis right now. Fatah's.
Don't tell the president; he doesn't want to know. Yeah.
Fatah's, they're a great organization doing politics. Well, now you've got these guys out there running around. We're seeing that right now with the multiple strikes. I don't think they're coordinated, but you've got a guy calls 911 in Georgia when they come in, he opens up on it.
Yeah.
Guy in Tennessee, why would you doing this? I want to kill cops.
Yep.
The guy in Missouri, they're and it's almost like what's happening in Israel. They run around just stabbing anybody they can get. And that fringe element is definitely a terrorist organization.
Yeah. Well, the difference with the Palestinians, with all due respect, is they teach their kids through the state-run media and in their state-run schools, kill the Jew. From as long as they could hear and understand and breathe, that's what they teach them.
You're right. But state-run, you're right on the state level. Yeah. But I'll tell you, I think that Twitter's doing the same thing with the Black Lives Matter people.
Interesting.
They're educating those guys in that way.
George, thank you, sir. Let's go to Cindy from Red Lion, Pennsylvania. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Brad. Thank you for your service, Brad.
Thank you.
It is very meaningful to me. I want to comment on the discussion from this evening. I come from a family of police officers. My father was a deputy inspector in the Bronx Borough Command. And when I see what is happening, it is very discouraging to me. And when I see what is going on, for example, I think that Obama and Lynch and all of the people who give or condone what it goes on with Black Lives Matter. You know, I look at it that all lives matter. Green, white, blue, purple, or polka dot. And to encourage this type of an activism where it only really encourages...
Well, Cindy, I agree. And Obama had 2 Black Lives Matter representatives at the White House not too long ago. I thank you for the call. Brad, again, let me hold up the book. Ghosts of War by Brad Taylor. If you love his thrillers, you're going to super love this one, I promise you. Thank you for your time, and thanks for taking the calls. We really appreciate it. All right, folks, up next, Stacey Washington and Jim Hoff, plus more of your phone calls straight ahead on the Steve Malzberg Show.